This plant is Myrtus communis Variegata. And it's not a well-used plant in my area anyway, but it's kind of distinctive, and I wanted to share it because I think it has some real merit in the landscape as a design element. The groups you're looking at here, just looking at the foliage, see this green bit here? That's very common with variegated plants. A lot of times you'll see the plant revert to its natural green color, and all you do there is you remove the affected stem, and typically that won't recur. But back to the plant itself, the ones you're looking at here are about 4.5 feet tall plus or minus, and they're probably 4 to 5 feet wide. And this plant gets a lot taller than most people seem to understand. It can get as high as 10 feet or more with real old ones. And I've included a picture of an old one that I saw in Berkeley years ago, and it was probably a good 6 feet plus when I saw that, and quite large. But the reason I like this plant is its variegated foliage. You can see here in the sunlight just how bright it is and eye-catching. And if you combine this with some darker green like in the background, I think it's a nice way to use it as kind of a mid-sized shrub massing. Also, it's quite drought tolerant once it's established, and the deer usually leave myrtle family alone in my area anyway, so it's certainly worth trying in that regard. It has this nice compact foliage, and so what you're looking at is a plant that may have been pruned once, but it's a pretty dense plant all on its own. So you could put this in a bigger area and kind of let it do its thing, and you really would have little or no maintenance. It does have a small flower, which you'll see in a minute here, little white flowers, and they're fragrant. Yeah, this plant over here is getting up around 5 feet tall at its tallest point. But the flower turns into a purplish small berry, kind of BB size, and that typically falls off on its own. So my experience with myrtle, I don't use these a lot, but here's what's critical. And I was using the compact variety in the past as a hedge in deer areas, and what I ran into is that some of them just started to die off. And if you read about these, they definitely need good drainage. And we had heavy clay in these areas where we had problems with these. So as a designer, I would tell you, if you have a flat area that's prone to holding water or could do that, or you have heavy clay that could get saturated during the winter and become a problem, I'd say you may want to look at other choices for your plantings, because I think you're going to have problems with this if you get into that situation. Other than that, I think it's a really lovely foliage. Also, a lot of people use this. I've seen this used and sold for cut foliage, so it's really nice for that as well. And that's what I can tell you about Myrtus communis Variegata, compact variegated myrtle.